Good evening, everybody. Hi, Marisa. Thank you so much for joining me and my brewskis, is what I call them, the people that watch my show. This is a special night for me. Usually I'm on Wednesday nights, but I also do an occasional Sunday for special guests that can't make the Wednesdays, and I understand that. But I want to introduce everybody to somebody that I have looked up to, followed, and I don't know if admire is the wrong word, but I've admired for a very, very long time, Marisa Pell. Welcome, Marisa. Um, Now, in my world, in the paranormal world, there are a lot of psychic mediums and this and that. So yes, we are familiar with psychic mediums, and we're familiar with intuitives and stuff. But there's a lot of things that you do that I myself am not versed on as well. So I want to just kind of talk a little bit about that stuff. But I do want to kind of tell you something that I've never had the chance to tell you. So for anybody that's watching that doesn't know, I first met Marisa, which I shared the video today just so that everybody had a little bit of a background of who Marisa was. But um, my father passed in 2000, and it was 10 years, coming up to after the 10th year of his anniversary, and CBS Philly put out this thing, for Marissa, to win a free reading for Marissa. I responded to it, and we got picked. There were a couple families got picked, but my family was one. Um, I knew nothing about Marissa at this point. It was just that leading up to this, my aunt, who is like a mother to me, was struggling so bad. Our family took a huge hit from my dad's loss. And yes, it was 10 years, but we still were in this like trauma phase. And my aunt, we all were trying to like really help her get through this. It was like, she just couldn't get past the guilt. She couldn't get past all that stuff. I'm going to jump back about 6 months, maybe 7 months. I not into the paranormal yet. Okay. And this is what I wanted to share with you, Marissa. I wanted to tell you this. So wasn't really into the paranormal yet. I was an enthusiast. I was watching the shows. I was watching John Edwards. I was like, just kind of, trying to learn a little bit about it. And I had met somebody that was into it as well. I went over her house. Her mother's there. Her mother, I'm going to try to shorten the story up a little bit, but her mother had abilities to be able to connect with people that had passed away and stuff. But she's a lot older than you, a lot older than a lot of us. And back then it was taboo. So she had to try to teach herself not to, because nobody was welcoming of it. They were like, oh, you're going to get sent away if you talk like this, Sitting there, she looks at me and she's like, there's a guy sitting behind you that looks like Jeff Foxworthy. And I said, that's my dad, and little by little, she's talking to me and she's like, is there anything that you want to, say? And I go, yeah. Can you ask him to go tell my aunt that he's happy? He's with people that he loves, and it's not her fault. And, this and that. And she's like, he said, no, you're going to do that. And I'm like, well, I've already been telling her that. We've all been trying to tell her that. She's going to count. Like, we've been trying to get her. And she's like, no, he's insistent that you're the one that's going to do that. And I'm like, but I've already tried. She's not listening, or it's not getting there, like, And she said, no. He's like, no, no, you are going to do that. Okay. I forgot about that really. Jump up 6 months. I write into CBS Philly. We get picked. We end up going to Fairmount Park in Philly at one of the mansions, Laurel Hill Mansion. It was probably the most surreal experience I've ever had. We were in this room. I remember it being really hot, but there was like a lot of windows. All the camera people are in there. The sun is shining in, and Marisa starts to do these starts to say, she picks up on my dad right away and looks at my aunt and says, you needed this. You were the one that needed this connection. You needed to hear that he was happy, that they're happy, they're together, that everything's okay. And again, at that moment, I still didn't put the two and two together, right? It was a very emotional day. I mean, even at one point, the sun was coming in, and I was like trying to look at Marisa, and I remember like squinting my eyes from the sun and seeing 3 silhouettes. Now, I don't know who those silhouettes were. I can only assume it was my dad and his brother and, the people coming through. But for a split second, I saw the silhouettes. Anyway, my aunt was a totally different person from then on out. It was like, and then I went back and I go, oh, that's what she meant by I'm going to do this. Like, I made that connection in order to bring my aunt to you, in order for you to make, to tell her, yeah, he's happy, he's good, he's with family, and from there on, it was like a switch had happened. She was a different person, and it literally changed our family. So I want to thank you for that. Um, and then the broadcast comes out, and the song my dad picked out to walk me down the aisle to is the song that they picked for the presentation.
Wow.
I know. Not only that, but there was this other thing. Me and my dad had this thing where we always drank tea together. That was his biggest thing, was tea. And we get to Laurel Hill 8:00 in the morning, and there's production people, me, all these people running around, and all they had to drink in the morning was tea. There was no coffee. It was all hot tea. I remember looking at my aunt, I go, do you think it's weird that they have nothing but tea? Because normally, people in the morning, a lot of people like to drink coffee, but it was nothing but tea. So there's all these things that happened that kind of solidified for me that it really was meant to be, and it was my dad. So that was amazing. You're I'm sorry.
I don't even recall, when people are like, do you remember? I don't really, since it's not me
right
coming in, it's like I'm hearing about a story about somebody else doing it,
right,
because it's so just pure, not coming from me at all.
Right.
Just,
right.
The channel messenger.
Well, and then, I mean, I came to you again, I think once or twice after. And then I remember you had, you were teaching a class and you needed volunteers for the students you were teaching. And I volunteered and helped out with that as well. But yes, I have been a huge fan of yours for a while. So I'm very honored to have you on tonight. I really am. I think you're just fantastic. So can you just give a little bit about yourself to everybody that's watching? I mean, as much as you feel comfortable with giving, like how you got into this and what your favorite thing about this is, you're so good at it.
Well, oh my God, that's you're giving like a 30-year time span here. I'm not sure where to even start. I guess just to start saying I've been doing this 25 years.
Yes.
I'm currently on sabbatical. I know a lot of my clients are like, no, disappointed, but I'm doing some other very important work about bringing heaven to people here, and not just, because people are dying on the inside here, and they're having regrets about even talking to people on the other side, right?
Yeah.
I wish I was able to be a better father. I wish I was able to be more present with my kids. I wish I had more time. I wish that I did what I loved and did just listen to my family and become a doctor because I hated it my whole life, right?
Right.
So it's kind of like I'm helping people create their heaven here now. It's part of it's part of where the world is going and transformation is going. And after 25 years of doing it full time with my own personal work, I need to take a little sabbatical so I can do the work I'm doing now. But doesn't mean I'm not going to be back. Just in that capacity, it still works, still going on.
So
Um,
did something happen for you to want to, like, did you find yourself working with more clients for that purpose? And then that's what you kind of started, you said, okay, this is where I'm needed more, or
well, I spent 12 years having school, which you know about because you were
Mhm.
came and did that, and so I trained a lot of really talented people that knew they had this ability and they just had normal jobs and they wanted to open this up. And I started to realize that a lot of people with natural ability, such as what I had, also were highly sensitive and also had some trauma in their background. So um, there were a lot of energetic breaches in early childhood, which led them to develop their intuition in a more natural way than most people had to do because kind of monitoring your environment, monitoring energy, playing laser tag with people with like just always needing to scan your environment, right? So I started to see, because I've been doing it a long time, that even if people connected to people that passed, they always had life questions and it always related to a lot of things that they were patterning around and cycling and they couldn't seem to get off the merry-go-round with their love life or their career or stepping into like bigger things or into their purpose or even being consistent with like their well-being. There was just like how like can you look into this too? Like sure, like let's look into the pathway. Okay, this is pathway A, this is pathway B. This is obviously a much brighter pathway and this is the right direction. Well, they would laugh and be like, I know what you're telling me is right. It's validating everything I feel, but I know I'm not going to be able to do it. I know I'm not going to be able to break this pattern. So I saw a lot of people keep coming back with the same situations over and over and over again, even though they're like, everything you're saying is exactly on point, but they just couldn't break certain patterns, which were
Mhm.
leading to a lot of unhappiness. And this is people that like were like successful in different areas of their life, maybe relationships, they just kept attracting toxic partners over and over and over again. So people keep coming back, being like, what do I do? Do I stay or do I go? And a lot of them were in what I call a fight or flight response, which I learned that the nervous system is a big part of that. And the reason I learned that is because I had my own emotional bottom too. And I got really successful in my career. I thought like, oh, if I do this, this, and that, I'm going to be okay. But then when the camera lights turned off or I got off a stage, I was in a ball having an anxiety attack. And I'm like, wait, this isn't supposed to, how come I have no connection to myself when it comes to knowing what I'm supposed to do?
Right.
I was struggling the same way they were struggling. And I saw a lot of my clients die this way, like not breaking this cycle. And I talked to a lot of people on the other side that were like, hey, I wish I could have done this when I was on earth because that was really my purpose. And
Right.
because they were in protective mode or fight or flight or shutdown or anxiety, depression, whatever they struggled with, they had to live at a lower frequency and they couldn't get to that higher place and live with that abundance in their life and that joy and that presence, that connection.
Mhm.
So I said what I normally say when I try everything else. I went around the world looking for the solution for my clients and myself. Went around the world, couldn't find it. Knew that therapy wasn't the option. That didn't really work. Just talking about your problems over and over again didn't really help. So I did what I did the first time before I got into this work, and I said, "The universe, tell me what I need to do. Put me through it. Put me through what I need to be put through, so I can get on the other side and I can bring this out to other people because this isn't working. Even though everything I'm getting is accurate, I shouldn't say every, I mean the majority.
Right.
People couldn't people couldn't change, and they really wanted to, and I really
Right.
wanted to help them. And the universe put me through it, a full 9 years of it.
Wow.
And why did I ask for this? And I realized that there was a piece I was missing, and that I learned everything that I could learn about that piece. And I knew that one reading wasn't going to help. Like, yes, the mediumship, sure, it gives you such a relief, and that is healing. But everything else is intellectual insight. So, like, even though it's channeled, you get more information. More information doesn't help you change. It could give you a mindset shift. Could
Hmm.
really help you change. So I stopped doing the mediumship for a little while, and put together a transformational breakthrough program based on the three methods that I had learned, that I had put together on my own, and said, you can't have this without this, or this without this. You want to have a breakthrough in your life. And now, a lot of those clients that have been with me 10 to 15 years, they kind of like trusted me, jumped into this process, and within 2 months, they were doing stuff they couldn't do in 10 years. Going back to school, losing weight, getting their dream home, dream relationship, things were happening. They're like, we didn't know that this was like the answer, but this, even though it wasn't the shiny object
Right.
of that immediate gratification of like, I need control over my future. And then I'm like, I'm not doing people a service this way, because they're looking for just like a quick fix.
Hmm.
And
So,
so
so
yeah,
go ahead.
well, I
Sorry.
do sessions now, for people that are doing the work, because now they're Akashic records, and they're the big roadmap opens up now with a lot of different roadways and options. We can read that. But when I'm reading a merry-go-round, that doesn't really, I'm just reading the next, I'm predicting the next cycle, who's predicting the next guy on the merry-go-round for that person who's in the toxic relationship cycle. I
Right.
know it's a lot deeper than what you thought we'd be talking about.
No, I mean, this is great. No, this is great. Like, I was going to say, so would you consider it more of a motivational type of a self help?
No, it's not motivational. Motivation doesn't do anything. I can motivate people all day long.
Yeah.
It is basically, um, there's a scientific component, which is our nervous system being stuck in a state of alarm. Most people have that who have trauma or shutdown. And they're not living in a state of connection. They're just fluctuating between, oh my God, urgency, produce, produce, go, 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 do, do, do. I need to do this now. Or I just feel resigned. I feel hopeless. I just can't. Like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm on burnout. And some people stay in those states for a long time. So it's about educating people on the nervous system component. But if our nervous system is stuck in protective mode, fight or flight response, we have no connection to our intuition, because everything is based on the perception of fear. So our intuition, though, for other people is on point. So that's why I could do the work I do so well, because I was an expert at getting out of myself and my body, and completely being able to read everybody else with such extreme accuracy, and even being that connected where I was more connected to the other side. So
Right.
it was the shoe fit as far as like where I was going with my work and why I was good at what I did, but it didn't give me personal joy to in
Right.
my world, in my life, to be able to live here with groundedness and balance and joy. So we can't manifest anything if those two systems are offline. Because if we do, you're only manifesting the career home relationship based on that survival state, and you will be manifesting based on fear.
And not living.
Well, you'll be thinking you're living, but it's more like a rushed, frantic, scattered, overwhelmed, just
You mean that's not ADHD?
it's a nervous system dysregulated state.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, and how, and like, so in order to determine like that's what was happening,
Mhm.
you had to go through it
Yeah.
and learn it yourself.
Yeah. I had to come back home to my physical body because I was out of it most of my life.
Yeah.
I had no connection to people or myself. Like, I was just channeling. I mean, it was just like all up here, but I had no grounding. Like, I could tell thousands of people what to do, but I couldn't make a decision for myself.
Right. Wow. So I see. So that's interesting. because you hear a lot of people that do that kind of work, and I'm not saying that I'm not saying anything bad about anybody else, but a lot of times it's like that's what brings them the satisfaction or something. Like, you never hear anybody really talk about. I've never heard anybody talk about how you could disconnect from your own self, because that's all you're doing. So is there things that you had to do to order, like, do you shut that down, that
No,
part, or do you?
it actually makes your intuition stronger.
Mm,
It actually it actually makes your intuition stronger because now you have self-trust.
yeah,
You have self-confidence. Now you don't have to externalize and go to a psychic or an intuitive or a best friend over and over and over again, being like, please, please, please help me. I need to know the future, like the future of my life. And it's like urgency. That urgency is survival mode.
right,
And so even if somebody's like coming to me in survival mode, they don't have the capacity to step into those bigger things on their own without regulating and grounding, coming back home to the body. The body is like, we came here with a spiritual purpose, but we also came into the body to be able to do that purpose, to be able to actualize that purpose.
right,
And being in the nervous system, if it's not functioning optimally, the intuition is offline because we think if we're in survival mode, we think we're being chased by a lion. So our body doesn't know any different. So our digestion goes offline, our liver stops detoxing properly, our everything is constricted, our joints hurt, we have all this muscle tension, and there's no intuitive faculty for ourselves. But think about it, if you're in that state in survival mode, you have to be so in tune with the outside world to scan for danger to survive. So of course your intuition for the outer world and other people. I'm telling you this, and I'm not knocking this industry, but a large majority of us in this industry, uh, I mean, they come from a dark place. I mean, it's just the bottom line. And most go to addictions, and they're still reading alcohol or drugs to numb the dysregulation. And most of the talented people that have come through my program, we would all have like intuitive development circles like once a month, and we'd all like ask about ourselves. And it would go on for like 10 years, and people were still asking the same questions. What, like, nobody was moving forward.
yeah,
And they were, I mean, in fact, some of them that had the toxic relationships, each relationship was getting worse. And you'd think all these talented people, I was at the top 5% of what I did in my job, and I couldn't help myself.
right. But I feel like that is a lot with different, like, I know, if I'm understanding correctly, I'm trying to understand correctly, but like, most physicians can diagnose you, figure out what's wrong with you, but when it comes to themselves,
Yes.
they have no idea what's going on, right? Um, and then, I feel like that's kind of like what you're saying. Like, it's easy for, I mean, even with myself, I mean, I've been in the medical field my whole life, but, and I can help other people. When it comes to myself, I become, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I got to call, you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
and it's almost like so I kind of understand what you're saying when it comes to that kind of stuff. I mean, did you find that maybe this might be the wrong word I'm using, but was it becoming, because you were so good at what you did, was it becoming redundant? And this might be the wrong word, but boring, because it was the same stuff over and over again, that you felt like you had a challenge, or you just were like, I need to. So while you were going through this 9-year learning process, were you still doing readings and stuff like that for people?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and then now you how do you stop that from happening when you're trying to focus on something else, and you're trying, like, you're taking like a break from doing the readings and the mediumships, you're doing this over here, like how do you stop people from coming through or stop doing that? You know what I mean? Is there a process that you have to do with that as well?
Well, if I didn't have that capacity to stop people from coming through, I'd be in the nut house a long time ago.
Oh, sure.
So yeah, I could do that at will anyway.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't until I stopped doing it completely for a small amount of time that I realized the toll it had taken on my body, and I had no idea that like that's. I mean, I was completely shot out, and then I'd like take somebody once in a while, and I'd be on the couch for 5 hours. I'm like, oh, this is what it's been doing to me
Right.
because I wasn't taking care of the body. If and starting to come home and do that healing work, you need a lot of capacity to do that, and so it's like a step in really making my vessel the best it could be so that I can be okay. I can be okay. A lot of people don't make it a really long time doing this work till they die.
Right.
It's dangerous. I know I don't look the part, right? But it's uh it's a dangerous job. More dangerous than people could imagine
Yeah.
because you don't know what you're bringing in. And if you're not in alignment and you're not like spiritually fit in some way. And my spiritual path was always there. Always, I was always on the light side of things. But there was a darkness there, in the very beginning that I had to move through. So there was a lot of things that I had to stop doing over the years, um, which led to now evolving in this way. But I had no connection to my body or what was happening. And when I stopped doing it, I felt so much better. And I'm like, oh my God, I just wasn't taking care of myself at all, doing this full time for so many years and just like putting myself last and not like doing the things I needed to do to keep the physical vessel in tip top shape, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, so I can do what I need to do. And so, like, right now, this is where the universe is going. This is where I'm being led led to do. And I'm seeing results in 2 weeks with clients that I've been reading for 15 years. They're
Yeah.
trying to do in 2 weeks in my program.
That's
2 weeks,
awesome.
two
That's
months.
awesome.
You know, I it's I had a woman come in. She was like, did not smile. She was like, I hate the world. I hate life. Like that's it. She's very psychic, very intuitive. And 2 weeks later, she's doing like we have a whole breakthrough process, and then she's just like, "What's wrong with me? Like I'm going out waving to like neighbors and smiling." She's like, "This hasn't happened in like 30 years. Like what's going on?"
That's
And I
it.
feel joy again.
Yeah. So is it mostly people that are psychic mediums and stuff that are coming to you for this help, or is it,
No,
no? Okay.
no, it's just the people who are drawn to me are going to be naturally intuitive by nature, or highly sensitive, or spiritual. But no, no, this isn't a program for psychic mediums. This is a program for
Anybody?
real people who want to have a breakthrough. But a lot of people won't invest in themselves. A lot of people will be like, oh no, like that's just what your protections do. If you're in survival mode, you're like, I don't deserve that's self-deserving. Like I don't deserve to step into this bigger thing. It's very rare that people are ready to do this type of work.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's change. I mean, a lot of people are comfortable with that guilt or with whatever is going on in with themselves. Like
Mhm.
grief, guilt. Stuff like that. People are. It's almost like a codependency.
That's what it is. Yeah.
you know and if you so here's one of the things I tell you, when people would say to me, my father passed from malpractice, so they're like, oh, you need to move on from that anger, right? And I'd be like, well, if I say, if I'm not angry about it anymore, I'm making it okay,
Right.
right? So that's like your thought process of it. And every time you sit down and you try to, I would try to be like, okay, all right, I won't be angry anymore. And it would be for like 30 minutes. And then I'm like, no, I can't do it. I can't like, like it's not okay. You know what I mean? So how could you just flip that you know what I mean? So I understand that, where for me it's like, I didn't want to let it go, even though people are like, oh, it's so unhealthy. Okay, but it's not okay what happened, and so
Right.
um
That's like trying to tell a computer, like when you're frustrated and it's freezing, like stop freezing and hitting the computer, like it doesn't work. You have to reset the computer, right?
right,
So like you telling yourself to stop it is not going to do anything.
right. No, yeah, and it didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't. I mean, even and like you said, to reiterate on like therapy. I had 12 years of therapy, and that didn't take that part of it away.
You're
It
staying
didn't.
in the mental space. You're thinking everything's up here, more intellectual information, more processing. You have to start with the body up, not the mental part down. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
So there are therapists now that do that, do trauma work like that, but and trauma doesn't have to be like a big thing. It could be like your parents were workaholics when you were young and nobody was there for your big emotions and to hold space for you.
right,
It could be, it doesn't have to be like something crazy,
right.
but yeah, people who are highly sensitive, they need extra care, extra compassion, extra kindness.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is. It's all like it's person specific. What I went through necessarily wouldn't be, you know, you might be able to handle differently. You know what I mean? So it is very person specific. Um,
Yeah, so the people giving you advice, they're not in your shoes either.
exactly. Um,
Yeah.
so can we just talk a little bit about, you know, I'm sure a lot of people that have the gifts that you have will
Yeah.
say that they had these gifts their whole life, right? Is that safe to say you have had it?
Yes.
Um, were now this I don't know, whatever you feel comfortable talking about,
Yeah.
because I don't know what your 9 years of trying to get through what that was. It's a very personal thing. I understand. I get that, but were your were you like you were seeing, I'm going to just use for lack of better description, you're seeing dead people, people that have passed away when you were little? Or I mean, like, is this like, how did this whole thing come to you to where, this is where, and was your family supportive? Were people like, did anybody else in your family have the gift that you have? You know.
Yeah. I was adopted. Okay. So,
Oh, okay.
so I didn't, my family thought I was strange growing up because I would say and do things that were like, they're like, we don't, I'm like, I don't like your friend. They're like, well, no, my friend's nice. I'm like, no, they're not nice. So, no, I did, all of I'm an informational channel. So I get stuff like in a waking trance, like very specific images, words, feelings, that kind of thing. But no, I didn't see apparitions or dead people. It's
Okay.
not like a Hollywood like what you see in the movies. It's very subtle. And so yeah, have they been probably communicating with me until I figured out what it was? Probably, but it wasn't like you would think it would be. Like there's
Right.
very small amount of people that do see visually, and they don't have the informational channel. So the gifts are very different. They almost see the spirit like a muted television. They don't really talk to them. Some people have their audience, some people have the clairvoyance, some people have the clairsentience. They're all very different abilities. So that's just one ability of seeing them, which is not something that I have experienced. So yeah, I met my biological family when I was 26, and it did run in my family biologically on both sides.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, Paul, hi, Paul.
Yeah. So
Oh,
she says, I still don't know how you keep it together, Marissa. I couldn't live with the gifts and had to shut them down to survive.
that can be a detriment too. So we have to be able to integrate them in a way that puts the limits and boundaries. But if you don't, like I know Paula, she's one of in my community, and um, it can be it can be harmful. to shut them completely down, because then you're shutting down your own compass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your makeup. Yeah. I mean, and you hear a lot of people say that, that you like, a lot of people will say that their gifts are from a higher power or higher guidance or guides or
Yeah.
this and that. You know, if you're shutting it down, I mean, do you feel that that's doing a disservice of what you were called to do?
No, I don't feel everybody's called to be a professional psychic or medium. I feel everybody has access to these abilities. Um, it's like Michael Jordan, right? Are we all Michael Jordan? No,
Right.
but do we all have a unique intuitive ability, divine guidance, intuitive strength? And could we take a pencil sharpener and sharpen it like a pencil and get really good at it? Absolutely. Can we all talk to the other side? Absolutely. Can we all connect to our own intuition? Absolutely. Can we all be intuitive about people around us? Yes. But you have to understand your specific gifts. So if you're like, hey, I want to go take classes, I want to be a medium. Well, you might be a medical intuitive. You might be someone who feels things on a deep level. You can't go in and kind of pick and choose like I don't see spirits. Like I just uh,
Right.
the way my gift works. So you have to be aware of what your strength is, how it works, and then have to start really documenting and tracking your progress over time so that you start to notice, okay, that's my intuition, that's not fear, that's not anxiety, and be able to see that for yourself. But if you're in a stuck nervous system state, which resembles anxiety, depression, or just overall overwhelm and franticness, you're going to be blocked. So that part of it is so important to
Yeah.
get in there.
Yeah. Um, Crap, I had a question in my head. See, here's my ADD. Um, my ADHD. Um, what was I going to say? I had a question in my head, but then I was like all like really visualizing what you were saying. I forgot.
It'll come. It'll come. Whatever you want to ask, go ahead. Even in the chat, if somebody wants to ask something, I'm an open book. Like I don't mind. Um, I see some people here from our community and people I don't know. So hi everybody that I don't
Yes.
know.
We have somebody checking in from England. We have somebody checking in from Indonesia.
Oh my God,
Ish.
hi.
Yes, in Indonesia for sure. I always give her a shout out because it's like 2 o'clock in the morning there, and she will watch my show and be a huge supporter. So I thank you so much. Um, and then this person, my beloved pet. I don't know what that was. Okay, sorry, I don't know what that was. Um, so so you did used to how I found you. You used to work with CBS 3 a lot, right? Or
Yes.
you because I know that, and I never knew that. It was just by chance that I saw that thing on there, which I'm happy I did. You know what I mean? Because like I said, you did, change my family's lives that day, but for the better. It was when I told my aunt you were coming on, they were like, "Oh my gosh, are you serious?" Like, so everybody loves you.
Oh, tell them I said hello, and like I'll have to rewatch that, but I remember it's clear as day. Like remember
Yeah,
having the family on.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I remember taking a class one time on trying to be a medium, and I backed off of it because I was picking up on somebody that was in a institution, that was, uh, she wasn't, her mental capacity was no longer, here in this. I don't know what to say. She was. I don't want to say what was. She was in a mental institution, but she was incapable of participating with normal activities. But I was picking up on something maybe before she ended up in there. I don't even know what it was, but it freaked me out because she was still alive. It wasn't like I was picking up on somebody that had passed away. Um, so I like backed away from it. Now I'm just like, I just investigate. I'm a paranormal investigator, you know what I mean? Like I just go in and and up until probably 2, 3 years ago, I didn't realize how different your world and my world are, even though they still kind of all mesh together somehow, but it's so different, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, so I'm clairaudient, so when I'm in these investigation places and stuff like that, a lot of times I'll hear responses to questions or I hear these phantom noises, um, that get caught on a record and everything, but that's as far as it goes for me. I don't see stuff. I don't, I'm not, I don't feel things either. A lot of people are empaths or stuff like that. And with you, it's like almost like, I mean, when before you're doing what you're doing now, I mean, it was, and I know you said that everybody has different gifts, right? But when it comes to what you did before as what you're doing now, do you find that you've added more, you've opened up more of your abilities? Am
Yeah.
I asking that right? I don't.
Definitely. Definitely. So you say you're clairaudient, but if you were to start doing nervous system work, opening up some of those centers that you shut down, you're going to start getting some of those feeling gifts come up.
Oh, like the empath stuff.
Yeah, that's blocked right now with you, but you have mediumship ability through the roof, but your whole, you know, from your heart center all the way down your solar plexus is all blocked.
Yeah,
So,
I
you're just existing up here, basically, in the mental space.
yeah.
And if your head and your heart aren't aligned, you're not going to feel anything. You're just going to be in the informational space.
Okay. So when you say informational space, what do you mean? Just like
The informational channeling, the getting research, getting information,
reading
processing,
a textbook,
yeah, just processing everything in the world analytically.
right? Not spiritually.
Well, no, I wouldn't say spiritually. It's just you're not feeling in your body because you're disconnected from it.
Hmm. Maybe I will take your class because now this is new. This is new to me. This is something new that I've never heard of. You know. Um,
Well, it's something that I put together that exists in three different sectors, but that nobody combined them. Nobody has ever combined them.
so how
So
long? So how long is it? Does the how long it is that they take your? Is it a class or is it
no, it's a journey.
a journey? Okay, thank you. I didn't know if I was using the right word. Okay, so this journey,
Yeah.
it could be anywhere from like, is there a time limit, or you just say,
People have to, here's the deal. Like, I don't want people joining for a month and then canceling because they're not going to get anywhere. So they have to commit for at least 12 months of access. So basically, they commit for the year, but they have 12 months of access to like a membership, like you join a membership for a year. But they have to make that commitment because the journey does take some time. But a lot of things that they think they want to do, they already passed that in a month and they're like, oh my God, well, what's next? So the journey looks a little, because you have to have a goal for your journey, but just pick one. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it will realign spiritually over time where it looks nothing like it was in the beginning. So yeah, and after that people can go month to month, but it is, they're with me. I'm keeping tabs on them. I'm coaching them. I'm doing deep work with them for a year.
that's good. And and this also does help you with what you're going through personally as well,
Well, I took what I learned and I'm put it into a curriculum for my students. Yeah.
right? And this doesn't like teaching this and going through this doesn't affect where how far you've come in your journey. Am I asking that right?
I'm not sure. Can you tell
So,
me?
so doing the mediumship work, right? You were helping all these people. You're up here all the time, right? you learn that, okay, I need to find me here. So you find you here. It took 9 years, right? That's a long time,
Mhm.
and and it's what was needed. But now, is it something that is always something that you have to work on? So, like, if you are now helping other people with this stuff, I mean, do you find yourself starting to drift back out, or is it something where you were able to? Am I asking?
Yes. So, okay, how do I put this? So, if you think about somebody who has an out of body experience, right? You think about their they have the cord attached and they're out of their body, like astral projecting,
Right,
right? That's how I was living my life.
right,
So I have, yeah, part of what I came here to do obviously was to help people understand that there's life after death, right? So that they can fulfill their earthly purpose, so that they can.
right.
Not so that it's like, thank you for telling me bye-bye. Let me go back to my crazy life.
Normal life, right,
So now I'm trying to put this into visual words or words. If I'm able to get grounded in my physical vessel, come back home and have space, because before we can only build our life based on the capacity we have in our nervous system. So we can't step out to anything bigger. So you could say, you could say, I want to, you could say, Taryn, I want to own a production company someday where I have my own paranormal TV show, right? But if you're running on empty every day and grounded and scattered and all over the place and you're thinking and can't get a minute's to time to yourself and you're not taking care of yourself, you are not going to have the capacity to do that.
gotcha.
So we have to start to expand and create space, first on the mental level, second in our home, our environment, third in our nervous system, fourth in our psychic ability. So we get those two things connected, plug them in, then the spiritual world opens up to us. Here, because think about the chakra systems, right? There's
Hmm.
a reason why people meditate, do yoga, and open those up, and it's so that we have divine connection for ourselves. So because we're the compass, we
Right,
have to we might know our purpose intuitively, but to read the map, we need to come back home. So how do I put this? So let's say you know your purpose is to have a paranormal TV show,
right,
but you have no nervous system capacity, right? To be able to have the space or the time to really put that together. And then when you think about it, you get so overwhelmed to shut down. It's like, how am I going to do this? No time, no energy, no money, whatever. And you open yourself up and you're like, okay, now I've cleared my head a little bit. There's my purpose. Okay, where's the guidebook now? How do I get there?
right,
So the purpose is we ground and balance ourselves, connect to the earth, connect to ourselves. Then we got to use the intuitive faculty. We have to open that up, have to learn how to use that, have to learn how it works, which is part of my expertise. Then we get a map because there's our purpose. Now we need the map. So then it's like, okay, I'm not listening to logic anymore because I wake up every day and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to the grocery store today. And then my intuition comes in and says, no, you need to go to the mall. And I'm like, no, I have to go get the groceries. Like, that's what I'm doing today. I know today that I listen because logic, I have to listen. So I go to the mall, or Taryn, you go to the mall. I said go to the grocery store because now intuition's working. Now you know how to interpret it. Now you know how to listen to it. And you go there and you go into the video game store, pick up something for your kid or whatever, and you meet somebody who's opening a production company,
right, right,
right? So every day we have the option of meeting those destiny points. But if our intuition for ourselves is not online, we can't get there. We we don't get a book with the A to Z components. Like we could
right,
follow process. There's the purpose. We need the map, intuitive development. We can't get the map unless we're back in the body, nervous system regulation. Those three things. Hopefully, That makes sense.
Do you find a lot of times that people, once they start on the journey, their goals change?
Yeah.
Is that often?
Yes. I have people coming in and they open up and find themselves and they're like, oh my God, I had no idea I liked this stuff. I had no idea I ever wanted to do this. If you told me this like a year ago, I think you're crazy.
Wow. And it could be anything from it's, and it doesn't necessarily have to be mediumship. It could be anything from writing a book, or is it artistic stuff usually, or is it, it could be anything.
It could be, I hate gardening and now I want to have a flower bed every day. Like, it
Yeah.
could be, no, but we need to learn intuitive development
Right.
to be able to, if we want to,
Listen to your intuition.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not about going to a psychic and listening to their intuition. That doesn't help me day to day when I make decisions every day of my life. It doesn't help.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes total yeah, it totally makes sense. And now, are these journeys like your classes and the people that, when you do this, is it group,
Yes.
um, group things, or is it online, or do you meet with people, or like how does that?
It's a group coaching program.
Okay.
So it is a group mentorship, and I have people from all over the world, but very small group. I'm very selective about who comes in because it's, you know, you have
Yeah.
to be in the right space.
Right.
And yeah, it's on Zoom. Our live calls are on Zoom. I have other coaches also. I have a nervous system coach from Romania that comes in, who's one of
Oh,
my
cool.
mentors. I have an intuitive development coach. We have intuitive energy healers who come in and do release work with people. And we have a private community and we have a core breakthrough process.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, has anything ever happened to, I mean, I'm sure, like, as you go along, you're learning the program or the journey yourself, right? Like, to change things or whatever, you know what I mean? Has anybody ever not benefited from this, or maybe freaked out and said, this is too much. I need to not do this.
Yeah, when I just did intuitive development classes for people who weren't ready to do that.
Gotcha. Now,
Yep.
how do you know? I mean, you are very intuitive, but how do you know when somebody is or isn't ready? I mean, are there certain things you ask, or is there certain things that they say that you're like, what, you're not, I know you're not ready.
They know they're not ready.
Oh, okay. But they think they are, right? So they come to you, they want to do it, and then realize I'm not there yet. I mean,
Oh, when it comes to at the end of the call, like, yes, 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 this all makes sense. And when it comes to the end of the call, there's like a time, a commitment for a year and also financial investment in themselves. They don't want to do that.
gotcha. Is it more the financial or the commitment that people have a tough time with?
Um, it's either one, but really it goes deeper than that.
Okay.
People think it's one or the other, but really they don't believe that they can. There's a lot of people that don't believe that they can do that. And like I said, we can only step in to something with our nervous system allows. And when we are asked, even if we want something really, really bad, there's a fear in stepping into it because that means we got to change, right? We
Yeah.
have a commitment to ourselves. People don't want to commit to themselves. They're afraid if they do that they'll fail themselves.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, you know, being in the medical field, I mean, my whole life, all I've done is help other people,
Right.
you know? Um, and, and even doing my Paranormal Brew, I'm not doing anything for monetary purposes, right? Because everybody's like, we don't make money off of doing that. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not about money for me. I'm not money motivated, right? Would it be nice to make money off of doing this? Yeah. not money, but I made a whole bunch of shirts. I gave them all away. I just gave them away to people, right? Um, but I dedicate half of my time to this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I am constantly on social media, constantly doing things to promote Paranormal Brew, constantly trying. I'm going to conventions, I'm going to investigations. I do so much for this,
So
right?
I challenge you, Taryn.
Oh boy.
You were in my program right now. I would say that if you created, I would say number one, that you chose that job based on your trauma,
Hmm.
what you couldn't fix in the past. So that's a job chosen. Not to say you haven't helped a lot of people, but I'm sure it's draining on you sometimes, and it's not, you know, yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
Um, and I will challenge you being able to make money off the show because there might be a limiting belief there that doing that is like, oh, like that's I shouldn't be asking for money. Like I shouldn't. That's
Right.
you know. Um, I'd say if you created more space and time for yourself for your highest intention priority, which would be monetizing your passion, that means you'd have to rework where you spend your time on your low level priorities, prune the trait. You created some space, you created some nervous system capacity, then you might be able to make a really good income doing this, but your nervous system doesn't believe that yet.
Right. That's true.
So
You
it's
know?
all three. It's all three.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
intuition, it's belief system, it's trauma, and it's you know we have to be able to hold. It's like, did you ever see people that win the lottery and they lose it the next like in a year?
Right.
They can't hold energetically. They're not used to holding that amount of money or abundance. We can only hold what we have the capacity for, whether that's love, wellness, money, abundance.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So if we increase our capacity, we can hold more.
That makes a lot of sense. Oh, there's our coach. That's sweet.
Thanks, Paula. Hi, Beth Ann.
Um, yeah, Beth Ann's been commenting. She's say that she can relate to being able to make decisions for everyone else but herself. I feel a lot of people are like that, right? I mean, I could give advice to so many people, call me up asking for advice, but then when it comes to myself, I'm like, what do I do? And then going to other people, you gotta be careful about who you go to for advice. Right? They may have other intentions. They may have other, when they're giving you advice and stuff like that. So, not being able to depend on yourself, on what to do in a situation, no matter what that situation is scary.
But what if you could?
What if you could?
What if you didn't have to go to other people because they all probably give you different advice anyway. It's all coming from their own trauma and own experience and their own fears. It's
Right.
filtered through that. It's really not very objective. What if you could trust yourself every day of your life, every second, every minute, and it led to all the things you wanted? Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's times today, like I practice this every day. I call it the magician's lair. When you're in the magician's lair, you're using your intuition every second, not just for like big decisions. You're using it like, do I eat this? Or do I eat that? Do I go down the street? And it sounds crazy, but when I still go against it sometimes because logic creeps in and I'm like, ah, and I know, like, I'm like, oh, I knew it was going to happen.
Like, what would be an example of that?
Like, for instance, like a family member, a family member was like, oh, I want to like one of my kids, like, I want to go do a sleepover at this friend's house. I tune into it. I'm like, ah, not feeling it, but I don't want to disappoint. I don't
Right.
want to disappoint them, right? So, and I teach my whole family how to use their intuition. I teach them all nervous system regulation, and it has helped our whole family. My 82-year-old mother, she's like, I can't sleep. She's up till 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, go do this 90-second exercise, and she's like, Really? Like it slept like a baby for 3. So slept like a baby. Got 8 hours of sleep. No,
That's
but then, you know, I'm like, they go to the sleepover, and it's like, oh, there was this screamy fan. It was like up till 4 o'clock in the morning. Couldn't sleep. I'm like, I should have told you that I didn't feel right about it, but I didn't want to disappoint you. It's
right.
like those kind of things.
But, and then for me, like, and I go through that, right? Like, I'll say, yeah, I'll do something. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it. You know, the commitment part of it. Like, I have a hard time with saying, breaking things that I told people I was going to do. Even if I'm like, if I say, yeah, question mark, but like they're hearing it as, yeah, I'm coming, I'm like, yeah, and as it's getting closer and closer, it's like, I wish I didn't say yeah, but I'm going to push myself to do it anyway because I don't like to say yes and then not, you know what I mean? And then, break the commitment of that.
Right. So you're abandoning yourself and your needs and your limits and your boundaries because you had to survive that way at some point. That meant survival at some point. You,
Hmm.
when you were a kid, it's like we said to our parents, no, I don't feel like doing that. I don't feel like cleaning my room. I don't feel like doing what you want me to do. It's like there are consequences to that.
Right.
Maybe in other relationships in your life. And so saying yes is a survival response. So I would challenge you to step into those limits and boundaries very slowly. And it's like if you're like, I want to public speak, I'm like, okay, we're going to train for a month and then you're going to speak in front of 600 people. It's like your nervous system can't do that.
Right. Right.
But if you want to go sit with people at Burger King and talk in front of 5 people at first, maybe that's that's.
Right. Right.
But yeah, part of what you're experiencing is number one, your nervous system is shutting itself down, and number two, your intuition really doesn't know if it wants to do that or not.
Right.
So, and you have no real boundaries or limits. So
That's my biggest thing.
you're living for others, but it kind of makes you a martyr in a sense. And it's just like, how are you really helping others if you're not helping yourself?
Right.
Because you're doing it out of obligation and guilt and not really that you want to.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So,
Yeah, no, that's true. Very, very, very interesting stuff.
yeah. And then that leads to resentment, right?
Yeah, regret, resentment. Then you want to feel like crap anyway.
So that's what your whole room is filled with, is all that stuff. You got to get rid of the emotional clutter, make space so that you finally feel like you could live the life that you want to. And it's okay. And you deserve that. Bye, Beth Ann. Good to see you tonight.
Yeah,
That's a lot. I know.
yeah, it is a lot, but it does it makes more as we've been talking. It's been making more and more and more and more sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, you know, I'm sure everybody that is watching or has watched or whatever can relate to this in some capacity.
Yeah.
And I use self like motivational, but in a sense they're in order. I mean, I know the people you have to do we have to do the work, but you're freeing yourself of stuff so that it's like you get the motivation to do whatever it is. It's not motivation, but you don't have anything tying you back or holding you down. You know what I mean? So you're able to be motivated to do the things you want to do.
Well, when we create the space, then with the challenges, the nervous system doesn't want to be able to do that because that's going to be work.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have to face ourselves if we clear space. That's even scarier.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's great. I love that you're doing that. I love it. I think that's awesome. And I mean, is there anybody else that you know of? I mean, I don't know if this is wrong to ask. I don't know. But I mean, I've never heard of anybody else doing this type of work with people.
yeah. I know a lot of people who do nervous system work because that's a thing. It's like finally people are talking about it and it's a thing. And there's a lot of nervous system coaches. There's a lot of people who do work with manifesting. There's a lot of people who are intuitives and psychics. But I don't see a lot of people combining all three.
Right. Do you find that it helps people that have things like I do, like ADHD or ADD? And, because it sounds like it does help to maybe I'm picturing here's in my brain waves are all tangled, right? And it's almost like it untangles the brain waves, you know, for lack of better description. I'm trying to like, now maybe not just my brain because I look, say you said I'm all up here. That's all I'm referring to, but it's got to be, everything has to kind of have a clear path. Am I making sense?
Yes, and it absolutely helps with ADHD.
Awesome. I'll have to look into this. So if I want to sign up for the journey with you,
Yeah,
where is it that where do I go to sign up?
we are very. I only work with people that book a call with me to talk to make sure it's the right fit. I don't advertise it. It's not on my website. Right now, it's very limited enrollment. I only enroll like 3 people at a time every couple months or so.
Right.
So if somebody's interested, they would just email the office at info@connectionbeyond.com or go to my website and there's like a contact form they can email in at connectionbeyond.com. But the best thing to do if you just want to, get connected to my content, go to Instagram. It's at Marisa Liza Pell, or go to Facebook. Instagram, I just created this new broadcast channel where I do little mini energy updates every day. Join the broadcast channel. It's kind of fun. And I do a monthly energy forecast because it's important that we take action at certain times. So I still combine the intuitive stuff. There's still a lot of the magical stuff that I do. I haven't turned it all off, but it's uh, it's where the universe wants me right now, and there's a lot of magic. There's more magic in it than you think. And yeah, so if somebody wants to connect with me on that, um, just send me a message on any of those channels. DM me, put a comment, write it here. Hey, I want to talk to you, connect with you, and we can set up a call. But I will tell you, it is a time commitment, and you will have to invest in yourself financially. But the universe, I see it with all my clients. It comes back. The money comes back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yep.
I I can't believe it's been an hour already.
It has. It's been over now.
I know. Well, Marissa, thank you so much
Thank
for coming
you.
on. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing all of this wonderfulness with us. And I hope to have you on again someday, and we'll catch up again. But until then, I will follow you on all the social media stuff. And,
Yeah.
hopefully, though we're already getting great show.
Oh, thanks, Penny. Thank you so much.
um, but I just want to say I love you and I think you're awesome. And I love thank you so much for doing what you do for the community and for the field and everything like that, because there's not a lot of there's not a lot of true blues out there
Yeah.
anymore. There's a lot of people that are, I call them pop-up psychic mediums and pop-up, all of a sudden everybody, out there is trying to make a quick buck, and so there's very few and far between that are legit, and you are one. So I thank you for everything that you do, and I love you.
Oh, thank you. I tell you, it took a lot of guilt. Like I had a lot of guilt for taking a break for myself, and it was only the work. Like it's because I did the work that I did that said, you know what, I've done this for 25 years. It's okay if I take a break. I'm not, I felt like, oh my God, I'm doing such a disservice by taking a break, working on myself. But I think I'm doing more of a service by doing that. But I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't do the work I did.
Well, and like you said, in order to help people, you have to be, on your A game with yourself, because how are you helping anybody if you haven't helped yourself? It's the same thing with loving yourself. If you don't love yourself, how can you love anybody else? So I get that for sure.
You're
Self-care.
a good
Yes.
person, Taryn. You're a very good person. And I hope that, you could follow, like, open yourself up to all this because it's just, you can have all the things you want. It's
Yes. I'm gonna look into it for sure.
And I
I
offer a lot of free content online, everybody. If you don't have to join this program, I do a lot of free content. A lot, like I have my own. The lounges, we're restructuring the lounge right now, but I have that show and excuse me, the monthly energy forecast where I do every day of the month. I talk about the theme energetically, the cosmic events every month. Just get on my email list, and I post a lot of comment on Facebook, on Instagram. I do a lot of free content, so there's lots of ways to get started, and I have also like small mini workshops and classes that are like $37 that you can get started with too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. All right. Well, I will let you go. And I, again, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor to have you on. And hopefully one day we can get you on again and catch up and see what's going on in your world as well.
Thank you. It was so awesome to see you and talk to you. And thank you so much for having me on your show.
Absolutely. Thank you. You have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. That was fantastic. She's amazing. Please go check her out on all the social media medium platforms. You guys will not be disappointed. Wednesday I have another show on Wednesday, Paranormal Brew. I have Eric Altman, Bigfoot, Bigfoot, Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society. You know, Eric Altman will be coming on Wednesday, and we'll be talking about his Bigfoot, the Bigfoot Con that's coming up in September this year, and how to get tickets for that. It's a weekend long Bigfoot conference. So make sure you guys tune into that because that's going to be really interesting. And thank you guys for joining me this Sunday evening. I love y'all. And I'll catch you guys Wednesday.